Join us for this virtually possible event as we transform Niagara to the New Orleans of the North. Get your mask, beads, baubles, and feathers on. Enjoy Cajun and Creole food, classic cocktails, and dance the night away. Celebrate with us on your porch, in your garden, in your living room, or in your driveway. And wait for the band to parade by. Niagara's Summer Mardi Gras, July 18, 2020. It's coming. Just watch and see.
Good evening. Welcome. Just watch and see. We are coming this summer with Niagara Summer Mardi Gras. We are the TD Niagara Jazz Festival. My name is Juliette Dunn, and I am so excited. I know we've all been locked up in lockdown for too long, no matter where you are in the world. So what we're doing is, for the next 9 Tuesdays, we're going to show you fun ways to celebrate Mardi Gras and get you ready for our Summer Mardi Gras. Now, we know that on July 18th, which is when our Niagara Summer Mardi Gras is going to be, we don't know how many people we're allowed to have gather here in Ontario, but that's okay. Worst case scenario, it's the same as it is today. We're all in lockdown. Well, guess what? We can still enjoy ourselves, because what we're going to teach you how to do is how to make a mask, how to do some Cajun cooking, how to make a Creole cocktails, typical cocktails that you only find in New Orleans. We're going to show you some second line dance steps, and we're going to, I can't even remember, just so much fun stuff is coming your way over the next 9 weeks. But tonight, we're going to start you off with the basics. So we need to start with the history of New Orleans and of Mardi Gras. And to help us do that, we have our NOLA correspondent down in New Orleans coming to you live this evening. His name is Christopher Butcher. You may know him from the Heavyweights Brass Band. He performed in the festival last year, and I'm just so excited to bring him on board. So here's Christopher.
How you doing, Juliette?
I'm really well, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. You can see and hear me. I'm coming through loud.
Absolutely, loud and clear, and we are so happy to have you here. Loving this technology. This is the second time you've joined us. You joined us a few weeks ago? Was it probably a month
it was
ago?
2 or 3 weeks ago. We had Ryan Hansler on the piano, and he was just over there.
That's right.
He's not even here today. We're social distancing. He's at home. And
Gotcha.
I'm here in my little studio room at Butcher Studios.
Nice.
You can see it back there. So thanks for having me back. And
absolutely,
we have quite the setup of, Crescent City personalities coming at you in the coming weeks. And I'm glad that's all coming together.
Oh my gosh, talk about come together. So what you didn't see was just a few minutes ago, we were scrambling to figure out some of the technology, and Chris is saving the day. So he's going to, not right away, but in a minute, he's going to be sharing his screen with a NOLA personality with you. So this new technology, I tell you, I was sweating there for a minute, Chris.
We got it. Hey, when you got Chris Butcher on the scene,
it's all good.
We're gonna find a solution to the problem. Same thing for me in that live streaming is new to me. Other than live streaming off my phone, I never did before this situation, and now I got a Canon DSLR pointing at me. I got a light behind it. I got a full-on recording studio here, and we've been busy lining up correspondence for the Niagara series and mixing for people remotely, and doing live concerts on my porch, and producing tracks for great artists in the city. And things are changing. Life changes, and we got to adapt. And to be honest, I think that there's something in the spirit of the city that breathes improvisation. We talk about the city that gave us the great music known as jazz that then traveled all around the world. And, people play it in Brazil and France, and they bring people out to Japan and in Kazakhstan and where you name it. This music, which was actually born out of this very neighborhood that I'm in, is the great American art form,
Yeah.
You know, not to put anything against cartoons or stand-up comedy.
For sure.
Those are great American art forms as well, but it's spread out of this little neighborhood, which is the Treme, and most people in this neighborhood would likely refer to it as the Sixth Ward. So the city is split up into, I think it's like 1st to 17th or 19th. The Sixth Ward is the Treme, which is one of the most famous. You go across Esplanade, which is a couple streets that way. You're in the 7th Ward. That's also known as the Creole District. Then you go further out. That's the 8th. Then you're in the Upper 9. Then you cross the canal. That's the Lower 9. A lot of great musicians from out of there as well. But we got to give a shout out to the Treme because this is the first Black or African American neighborhood in what became the United States.
Oh, okay.
And if you cross Rampart Street, which is a couple streets that way, so Rampart, I believe you speak French. I don't. Rampart, that loosely translates to wall or fence or rampart. I think. I think it even in English it makes sense. But so essentially, the city of New Orleans, which was founded 300 years ago, or 301, or 300.5 years ago, was first founded in this in the French Quarter. Which is just 3 or 4 blocks out. That was originally New Orleans, was the French Quarter, which runs on the west side from Canal Street, on the east side to Esplanade, on the north side, as we mentioned, to Rampart, and on the south side of the French Quarter, you're right on the Mississippi River. And the reason they built there first was because, well, let's go back a little further, even before that. So the first Europeans to show up in New Orleans, as we should mention as Canadians, were born in New France. They were Iberville and Bienville, and they were born in what is now Quebec or Canada. And the French were trying to connect the St. Lawrence Riverway, which they obviously had developments on Quebec City, Montreal, you know. They were trying to find a way to connect the St. Lawrence Riverway with the Mississippi Riverway, which now seems kind of logical, but finding where the Mississippi actually empties into the Gulf of Mexico is really tricky because it's all marshes around here and it's a mess of. So the city of New Orleans in the French Quarter, that was the highest ground in this area. And the Cats founded Iberville and Bienville. And they first established in the French Quarter because that was the highest ground. The rest was swamp. And New Orleans is literally, it's a bowl. We got the Mississippi River here, and then we got a bowl that goes up to Lake Pontchartrain. And so the Mississippi River, as we mentioned, that's where the French Quarter is. And previously the rest was swamp, and that got drained out. But the middle of the bowl is still below sea level, and they say it's sinking. Wow. So property prices are a lot better the closer you get to the Mississippi and the higher ground you get on because of that. So we were mentioning the French Quarter, and this was the first settlement of New Orleans. The rest was swamp. Eventually, they started building suburbs. The Treme, the Marigny, the Bywater, these are Faubourg or suburbs of the city of New Orleans. And essentially, you know, it kept growing and growing, and people needed more space. So it started moving in on the east side, or the downriver side, downtown, they would refer to it here as. Here, we don't say uptown and downtown. Downtown doesn't mean center. Downtown means south of Canal Street, downriver from Canal Street. And sorry, when I said south of Canal, I actually meant to say east. But it's really kind of confusing because the Mississippi, we call it the Crescent City because the Mississippi cuts this big crescent into the city.
That's why it's called the Crescent City.
Yeah,
and
and New Orleans, it's really confusing. West Bank is quite often east of us, but they mean the west side of the Mississippi because the Mississippi comes down here and then does this around New Orleans. So to get back to the Treme was one of the first, I believe, the first or maybe right along with the Marigny, the first suburb of the city of New Orleans, of the Vieux Carré, of the French Quarter, of the Old Quarter. And what we really need to note is that it was the first African-American neighborhood in what became the United States. And we will mention our video series ends in Congo Square, which is a few blocks away from us. It's part of the Tremé. It's part of the 6th Ward. And what this is just outside of the city gates. African people were allowed to gather every Sunday in Congo Square. It was Place Congo or something like that in French at the time. So every Sunday they would gather there and obviously play music and dance and eat and, explore their traditions. And it's no surprise that the only city in what became the United States that had a place like Congo Square is the city that we have jazz and the style of cooking and the style of dance and the style of talking to people. And it's really a special city in the United States, and in a lot of ways the most African or the most Black, a lot of ways the most Caribbean, because remember in a lot of ways we aren't a city of the southern United States, we're a city of the northern Caribbean. And there were all these connections between Cuba and Haiti, of a lot of, after the St. Dominique slave revolt, a lot of free people of color, a lot of white people from Haiti made their way to New Orleans. Every ship that left Havana went to New Orleans before it went to Spain. So it was founded by the French. It was ceded to the Spanish. It was like a less than 50-year period. And then given back to the French, and then Napoleon sold it in the Louisiana Purchase. He wanted to fund his wars in Europe, so he sold it to the United States of America to fund his wars over there. And yeah, I mean, we're going to get more into it. I wouldn't mind getting into a video in a minute or two, if you don't mind. You think that's good, Juliet?
Absolutely. Well, and I have one while you get set up. I have a 45-second video that is just like hot off the press, actually, that I can play before you take over the screen.
Yeah. And, I do want to intro it. So if you want to play that, or do you want to play that, and then I'll intro this Windex video, and then we'll do beautiful.
Exactly. And then before I do that, I just wanted to ask you, what did you say? So the Treme, what did you call the neighborhoods? Quarters or?
So they say the Faubourg Treme, and which I'm going out on a limb. Is that French or no? Faubourg,
Faubourg. Is it spelled Faubourg?
Does that mean suburb or subdivision?
What? That's a great question. I mean, because there's lots of streets in France. Faubourg, I think it was a Faubourg Saint-Denis, if I recall. But I don't actually know what the actual word means, other than I knew it was a word that I'd associate with different streets. Yeah.
Je ne comprends le français, and I wish I did better in my, in my Canadian.
No, and it's not, and it's funny. It's not just you, because when I went down to New Orleans, because of course I'm bilingual, but what's happened with a lot of the French words in New Orleans is they do have
they've been anglicized,
and then the New Orleans accent. I'm not sure what you would, because I'm sure that's specific to New Orleans. So sometimes it would be a French word, and I'm like, pardon?
Yes, well, that's what I definitely, Canada's a bilingual country, and I have my very limited French, but you would say Montreal or Quebec, or you would try and say a French word. Yeah. You might humor yourself and say it in a French accent, but here it's a little different. It's funny. The Cajuns, when you hear them speak, which are Acadians, which are people from the east coast of Canada that in the war between the English and the French, got kicked out of Canada, and they came down to Louisiana. And we definitely do have that in New Orleans. It's a little more west of here. There's a triangle. Lafayette would maybe be the big city.
Oh, yeah.
A couple hours west of New Orleans. But there's a huge tradition. There's a great person in the Cajun music tradition called Bruce D'Augrepont. Like, I'll say that, Bruce D'Augrepont. but down here you would never kind of say that. But they do. You can go on Bourbon Street and see Cajun music, and the Cajun accent to me is interesting because as much as people from France talk about the French Canadian accent, you hear Cajun cats down here, and to me it sounds like they're speaking English with French words. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense at all?
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's I can't explain it. You got to be down here. I mean, we're obviously going to give you as much of a taste as we can in the following 40 minutes or 45 minutes. But I do want to play on those things. If our audience is Canadian, we should touch on these points of the Acadians and of Iberville and Bienville and the French. I mean, I really think that that's kind of what makes. I mean, there's everything makes it special. Obviously, the rich African heritage, but also Jelly Roll Morton said you can't have jazz without the Spanish tinge, and there's a laissez-faire attitude, les bon temps roulés, and there's a very different kind of Catholic thing than But play that trailer, and then we're going to intro Windex and get into that.
Okay, excellent. So I'm just going to say a few words for those who might just be tuning in. So this is the first of our 9 Niagara Summer Mardi Gras sessions. Today we've got Christopher Butcher and Windex Pete coming up. They're down in New Orleans. I'm here in Ontario in St. Catharines. And we're, all social distancing, but all getting together at the same time, which is super exciting. And we're getting you all ready and us as well, for Niagara Summer Mardi Gras on July 18th with these sessions with different ways of getting ready. And here's a trailer. A big shout out to Karina, who put this together very quickly. And I'm so excited. So here we go. The TD Niagara Jazz Festival presents Niagara Summer Mardi Gras Sessions. Join us online every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. as we bring New Orleans to the north. Direct from the Crescent City, Dancin' Man 504, Windex Pete, Christopher Butcher of the Heavyweights Brass Band, and more. Featuring mask making, Cajun cooking demos, musical spoons, second line dance steps, cocktail demos, funky fashion tips, and musical clips. Tune in for these free sessions on our Facebook or YouTube channels, Jazz Niagara. Then we'll celebrate Niagara Summer Mardi Gras together this summer on July 18th. It's virtually possible. Just watch and see.
Niagara's Summer Mardi Gras sessions are brought to you in part by TD, the City of St. Catharines, and the town of Niagara-on-the-Lake.
It is virtually possible. That's right. So I'm going to bring in Chris again.
Nice tune there, Juliet.
Thanks for that, Heavyweights Brass Band. And did you? I know you were busy setting up, but I don't know if you saw yourself in some of the footage there from last summer.
I did, and I saw some footage from when you were down here as well.
That's right. Yes. Oh my goodness. You talking about New Orleans already. I mean, just this little taste you've given us already. I already knew I wanted to live there part-time, but I really do. Like, I could so live there 6 months of the year.
So when are you starting, Juliet?
I don't know, but I'm going to work towards that because it's just such a magical place. It really is. So listen, you tell me when to pull up your screen. Did you want to intro this first?
Yeah, I want to intro it, and all I have to do is double click on something and we're rolling on my end. So, so I did a little video segment here of there's a character that words will fall short of describing. His name is Windex Pete. We're going to get that story on him. He's one of these cats you see everywhere. If I don't see him with us social distancing and staying inside, but still it's like I'm going to the grocery store and he's out there. Funny thing, day after we shot all these videos, I had to get something from the hardware store and he was there. So it's Windex Pete. There's nobody like him. I don't think you'll find somebody like him in Toronto or anywhere else in the world. He's a musician. He plays the washboards and he's frequently just out there making music, having a cold beverage, as I'm sure you'll find out. Any band that's playing Troy, Trombone Shorty, James Andrews, who's Trombone Shorty's brother. He's playing with them. He's playing with them at Jazz Fest. He's jumping on the stage with whoever. He says in the videos, I played with everybody, and you'll check it out. He describes it himself perfectly in the video of, I'm the Renaissance man of the French Quarter. If you're hungry, I'm a food critic. If you want some good music, I know the place to go. I can be a bodyguard. But Windex is just one of these characters that is pervasive and in everything. He's in so many music videos about the Crescent City. You see him at the end, he gets into a little Drake rap, and that's because he is literally in that Drake video of that tune. You see him in CeeLo Green videos. You see him in the Trombone Shorty documentary. He's playing in it. He's out playing washboard with tourists and helping people out and making $1 here, $1 there. And I think we should roll to the video in a second. So we start in the Tremé, a couple blocks from my place. We met in what's called Tuba Fat Square, about a block from my place. We got the video cameras rolling, I think a block or two after that. And first we pull up on the house of one of the great drummers in the world. His name is Mr. Shannon Powell. He was the accompanist of choice of Diana Krall for many, many years. He actually lived in BC for several years. He had a friend who had a blueberry farm up there or something. So we roll up to Mr. Shannon Powell's house. We just recorded a song with Mr. Shannon Powell that I hope you'll all be hearing about. It's called Get Back, with the Groove Masters, Herlin Riley, Shannon Powell, and Mr. Jason Marcellus. We kind of reference it a little bit in the video, but I can't play you the track because it's unreleased yet. And we kind of go from there. Then we bike through the Tremé, run into a friend, Susie, who's a block away on Tremé Street, which is the street that Windex is born on. And then next we're in the French Quarter, and we're biking down Bourbon Street. And I just kind of wanted, I can tell you a million things, but you got to see it. We're in the situation we are in now, which means that Bourbon Street is very different. You'd have a hard time biking the opposite direction down Bourbon Street. But for the most part, other than a few cyclists, we do pretty well here. The stores are boarded up, and it's a different vibe. We get to Canal Street. He tells some stories there. So it's just kind of like a video documentary of the neighborhoods of the Tremé and the French Quarter. And I hope you enjoy Windex, and I hope you learn some more about it. We're going to go into a couple more after that, but if you want to share your screen with me, Juliet.
Oh, now, why is that not? Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's right. Check this out.
Okay, wait, that's funny. It's not. Okay, I might. Oh, perfect. Okay, I'm going to remove us for a second. I don't have sound on my end. Do you, Chris?
I haven't, but let me know if you have sound now.
Okay, go for it.
A second.
No.
Do you have sound on it now?
Okay, let's try.
Juliet?
No, we do not. And I know earlier, just a few minutes before.
I think I actually have it here. Give me 1 second. Okay. I think I need to click share my screen.
Okay, that's what's happening.
Okay, and then let me go over here.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's feeling better.
Yeah, you're seeing it now?
I think so. Let's try.
Can you hear me, Juliet?
No, we can hear you, but not your screen.
Now can you hear it?
No, but let me just see.
Give me 1 more second here. We will have it here.
We had it perfect when we rehearsed it.
Yeah. Oh, do you know what? I know what it is. Give me 1 second here.
Okay, good. Because with that lead up, now we really want to.
We got it now. Check this out.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Back yet.
We'll go from the top here. So you were born on Tremé Street, but then you moved.
I was raised all over from Canal Street.
Third time's a charm right here.
Right there. This is where I did that video with CeeLo Green at. That's where I did that video, my first video. With my song with CeeLo.
Cool.
You seen that one, I know, didn't
I seen the one you did with Drake.
you? You know, CeeLo Green video.
What?
So, well, that one.
Yeah,
All these houses, all these.
I heard you.
Yeah, all that right.
Susie!
Hey, Steve. Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder. Susie! What's up? How you doing? We're doing a video in the Treme with Windex here.
Okay, that's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So now we're in the quarter. This is Bourbon Street. How's James doing? You seen him? Yeah. You
That's my man. That's my man. Him and Trumbo. I used to clean their windows on the car. That's how I got love. I used to clean their windows on the freaking car. That was, I played this right here. I played Waterboy. I started going to Oop.
Yeah, that's where I met you first.
Yeah.
Mondays at the Oop. You don't mind if I interject here? We don't even need to switch the screens.
No.
Oop was a local bar just up Orleans Avenue, Basin Street. If you go one way on Basin Street, it wraps around and you end up in the French Quarter in the CBD. If you go the other way, you end up going up the 6th Ward. And there was a bar on Orleans Avenue up there called the Oop. And sounds funny, but it was a big hit back in the day for a singer named Jesse Hill. Jesse Hill is Trombone Shorty's grandfather. It's James Andrews' grandfather. And this bar was owned by their cousin. This is Troy's and James' cousin. And they'd have music there every Monday night in particular. Heavyweights, when we came down, we played a night at the Oop. And Windex would be out there every Monday. I think that was the first time I met him, unless it was on Frenchman Street before then. But, you know, I'd see him there every Monday and we'd be jamming. So it's all in the family with these big music families here. So James Hill, Oop, check that out. And that's what Windex is referencing here.
That's where you met me. You know, this is Johnny White. This is where they put me in a book. Johnny White.
Yeah. So that is true. There's a book on that bar. And there's a chapter on Windex Pete, and frequently he has copies of it and sells them to people. And he says, you know, Windex Pete, you never seen the book. He pulls it out and he goes to the Windex Pete chapter. It's totally true.
Wow, what a character.
So here I am asking him about Katrina and if the COVID-19 situation reminds him of it in any means. Remind you of Katrina at all, Pete?
You know, like on the mountain, this can't touch this. I've met everybody. I have met everybody. Kevin Johnson, Marissa Gold, all of them. I ain't ever. Linda Ronstadt, Rita Cooley, Olivia Brown from Miami Vice, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Joe Becky. How y'all doing? Good, and yourself. Thomas, never had a bad day. Thomas Lee Jones, this is Basic, Michael Rooker, Kathleen Turner, Kim Basinger. I've been Nicholas Cage, the Robert Stalin, Wells Great Mac, that is cool. Mick Jagger, Billy Joel, Jerry Jones, Howard Stern, Mike Moriarty, Bill Mudd, Darrell Hannah, George Levy, Lawrence Fishburne, Ken Rock, Angelina Jolie. I can't remember everybody. Chris from Canada.
The Butcher.
Yeah, the Butcher. And we all feeling fun.
We all feeling fun.
Oh, sorry. There we go.
No
We're
problem.
back. There we go.
So we got this rolling. We got
yeah. Thank
beautiful.
you, Chris.
We're improvising here, you know. It's because we played the video on QuickTime before. This time it was in VLC, so I had to adjust those settings.
Oh my gosh.
But
yeah.
as I said, I think that there's a spirit in this city of improvisation, and it's obviously reflected in the art form of jazz. And you know, if you're in Toronto, you kind of can't show up to a rehearsal late. You know, if you show up late, you can only say the TTC was running late a few times.
Yeah.
But here it's, you know, it's a different way of life, and people roll in when they can, and people roll out when they have to. And you know, and we're making it do what it do. So yeah, hopefully that gave you a little taste of the neighborhood. So again, the Tremé, that is a couple blocks from this house. Shannon's house is literally on one side of Louis Armstrong Park, which is kind of where we start and end the video. Susie's is on Tremé Street around the corner. And right before we got to Susie's, we passed where Windex was born. I couldn't tell you the address on Tremé Street, but he pointed it out. And so that was Bourbon, and we wrapped up there right on the west side of the French Quarter, which is Canal Street. And I think we're going to roll into this next video here. Give me 1 second,
Cool.
Juliet.
Absolutely. Quick question for you, Chris. So yourself, because you live in the Treme and you're quite close to the French Quarter, like, are you biking? And since you're a trombone player, it's not like you have a big keyboard or anything big. Can you go to gigs on your bike? Do most people bike, or how does that work?
That's my thing. My partner here, Yadira, she bikes to work just on the other side of the quarter in the CBD. Windex is out everywhere on a bike. I'm out everywhere on a bike. Of course, we have car culture in the United States and in the South. But the beautiful thing to me about the city of New Orleans is you can bike it. And, you know, I'm literally, you could walk it. I'm so close to Frenchman Street, the French Quarter. But even if I bike way uptown, what's it going to be? 20 minutes, half an hour to get, and then I'm in Metairie. I'm in like the Mississauga of the Hamilton, you know, in 20 minutes, half an hour, you're on the outskirts on the west side. If I got to go down the lower 9, I can bike there.
Wow.
And I always remember once I was biking to Delfio's house in the rain, and he's like, "You gonna bike over here in the rain?" Or like, I just got there and it was rain. He's like, "You're great. You do." I'm like, "Well, it's a lot better than biking in the snow."
That's true. Hello.
You know? So,
exactly.
and the city's, you know, we said it's a bowl between the Mississippi and Pontchartrain, but I mean, at its deepest, it's like there's no hills. There's like the worst is going over a highway overpass or something, but the city's really flat. Fair number of bike lanes, and you know, so that's kind of how I love getting around.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Hey, while you're setting up, usually I'm posting comments, but you know, when people are playing music, and so we've had a whole bunch of comments come in. So I'm just gonna be while you're just setting up, I'm just gonna
read them to me.
Yeah. So we've got Bonnie saying, "Summer Mardi Gras, can't wait," and she also says, "Hooray, Chris, for saving the day!" Yeah, with the technical.
We got it here.
So great. So you know, Bonnie, you've had some emails back and forth. Our artist liaison. And Monique, a friend and volunteer, says hello.
Hey.
And another friend, and whoops, he's weird. Oh gosh, I lost my place, but there she is. Another friend and volunteer, Shirley, says hello, everyone. This is so fun. Luke and Peter, who have tuned into, I think, every single live stream show. So they've put a whole bunch of emoticons. They're very nice. Love TD Niagara Jazz Festival. Love jazz. J'adore le jazz. Merci les mecs.
Merci beaucoup.
Yeah. Here's somebody you know as well. Bill Beard, volunteer photographer from Jazz FM 91, and also one of our volunteer photographers. Hey, Bill. So he says, "Hey, Chris and Juliet. This is so fun." Joni Marie from Hamilton says hi from Hamilton, Ontario. Oh, and Luke is educating me with my French. Here we go. Faubourg simply means neighborhood. So there you go.
Oh, beautiful. I thought it might have meant suburb or something, but that's nice to know.
Yeah, neighborhood. Merci, Luc. And then we have, oh my goodness, we have Gilles Boulet from Winnipeg.
Beautiful.
Sweet, yeah.
Well, there's a French neighborhood in Winnipeg as well, the Métis, or the French Canadians that went west and created a culture with the indigenous people, the Métis, and they have a neighborhood there, Saint Boniface, and the French Manitoban Cultural Center. That's where I was born, is Winnipeg.
I didn't.
And I saw my mom commented there. Thank you, Mom. I love you.
Oh, I have. Where's your mom? Or I'm not allowed to tell. Anyway, speaking of moms,
I'm looking at the live comments. I see an Amy Butcher in there.
Oh, cool. I haven't gotten there yet. I might have figured it out.
We enjoy watching with you, and thank you for your.
Oh, there we go. I see it. I'm putting it up
your
now.
help as always. Thanks, Mom. I love you.
Sweet, so sweet. Where's Mom based? Is she
in Winnipeg? Yeah, my parents.
Cool.
So that's where I was born, and that's my father's from rural Manitoba, and my mom is from New Jersey. So that's why
I knew there was the American component, and that's why you can live down there, right?
Yeah. So I'm a dual citizen, thanks to them.
Sweet. See, and I have the dual, but it was French, not French, but English, and Canada, so British, so I could live in France. That's
beautiful.
That. Yeah, I'm gonna work on living in New Orleans, though. I swear.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and then a couple more, and then so then we're all caught up. There's my mom listening from BC. Hey, Mom, and hey, Dad, who actually you met last April in New Orleans when we all came down for my big birthday.
Beautiful.
Yep. So Mom and Dad saying loving it, and Ardith imagining being in New Orleans as she listens and watches. Very nice. Ardith also a friend and volunteer for the festival.
Cool.
Tim Johnson says bringing back memories of New Orleans. Tim has an amazing festival, by the way, is the Celebration of Nations with Michelle Elise Burnett. They have a great festival as well, and that's in September. And then we've got used to be our neighborhood from our faubourg, Paul Goodman. Hey, the Goodmans are watching. Hi, guys.
Beautiful.
Okay, we're all caught up on the comments. Sweet.
Let us know, if you have any specific questions or anything, maybe we can address those after the next segment or at the end. So anything that piques your interest. But let's keep rolling with some more Windex.
Yes.
We got video 2. So we were just ended up on Canal Street. We go down Canal Street to the House of Blues, which Windex had story upon story upon story there, meeting Mick Jagger, meeting. A lot of those got edited out because there was too much meat, But we bike down Canal and we hear a little bit of his history, and we hear how he got the name Windex Pete, which he actually got it from a Canadian from Ontario.
Hello. Okay, so am I ready to share your screen?
Yeah, you let me know when you've shared it.
Okay, here we go. And shared.
Okay.
Well,
1 second here. I just got to drag it to my other screen.
Gotcha. Oh, I see. Yeah. Cool. We got audio, though.
Screen. Yeah. You got it there?
When did you meet Mick Jagger?
I ain't give you that.
You did?
I got a million stories. We're working on it.
This is still bourbon.
Yes, sir.
Cool.
Look, this was Legends Park right here. I met all 3 of them guys, right?
So we got Fats, we got Al Hurt.
Al Hurt, you got Pete Thomas.
So those are all statues there. That's Music Legends Park. You can grab a coffee and some beignets and hear a trad band kind of play out in a little patio there.
Oh,
One of the nicer places on Bourbon, but they got statues of those 3 cats, Fats Domino, the king of rock and roll, the original, Al Hurt, the great trumpet player, and Pete Fountain, the great clarinetist, all memorialized in big statues there. And Windex, of course, have met all 3 of them.
Of course.
Now, when you look, I'm 69 years old.
I don't believe you, Pete.
look, I'm 7 years old. 60 years ago, $1 was like $100. Almost.
Yeah.
$1 gives you 4 more cents, a cold drink, potato chips, and a pot. $4. That's what I was. You understand me?
Yeah. You ain't gonna get one at Purdy Mart today for $1.
I'm born and raised there. You go to Circle Food Store, right?
I went there this morning.
Man, I used to go there and leave my twin brothers used to go there and hustle. We would take the basket and bring it to a cab on the corner. You might get a nickel, you might get 7 cents, you might get a quarter. You get a quarter, you're doing damn good.
Like a really good game.
Who that is? Hey, now y'all know. Hey, now.
Oh,
This is the Bourbon Street traffic these days.
wow. Tourists.
Let's go down the middle. No, we're gonna go up Canal. Let's roll up Canal to the park, Windex. This way to Louis Armstrong. You want to go to House of Blues?
I want to go with you.
I want to go to House of Blues.
All right.
So we'll go down to
This is the beautiful
Yeah.
canal, foot of Canal Street.
We'll go
is the
down to
bottom of the
Decatur
French
here.
Quarter,
I remember that. Yeah.
and you can take a ferry to
I
the
like
other
this view.
side.
I walked George W. Bush.
Huh.
So he's talking about George W. Bush when he was the governor of Texas. This is prior to him being president of the United States. And he just talks about meeting him. And of course, if you came to New Orleans, he knows Windex Pete.
Yeah.
I walked George W. Bush. I will build it first. Down this street right here. He asked me what I'd do. I said, you know, George, I said, I'm the Renaissance man of the French Quarter. I needed that help. If you're hungry, I'm a food critic. If you want some music, I know the best place. And if you're looking for a place to go, and I'm a bodyguard. Everybody.
Tell me the story about Dan Aykroyd calling you Windex Pete.
Ah.
Gets into
Oh, I've been here
Tell me about meeting Dan Aykroyd.
I met Dan Aykroyd. Used to have that old Blues Brothers, the car with the horn on top of it. And I was known as Pete the Windex man, doing windows on stores and cars all out here down the street by Jacksburg. So all of a sudden I meet this guy, you know, I'm a fan of this guy, right? From Saturday Night Live. And a friend of mine, he said, wait a minute. He said, everybody call you Pete, the Windex man. I told him, yeah. Now, Windex is your first name, and Pete's your last name, right? I told him, yeah. So for now on, you're Windex Pete. And after that, everybody started calling me Windex Pete. After 26 years, kind of grew on me. Everybody called me Windex. I used to do windows down there, but Dad gave me that nickname, Windex Pete, and for now it's been history.
Stuck.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you're right. That's some more Windex. That's how he got the name. So Dan Aykroyd, who's from Ontario, is it Kingston, I think?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Named
why.
him. And what can you say, you know?
What a character. What a character. You, Chris, sorry, you mentioned when you had played down, I think it was the Upapaloo.
Poopadoo, yeah.
Poopadoo, thank you, with the heavyweights. When was your first time in New Orleans?
So I came to New Orleans, this was pre-Katrina. This was when I was 18. So we're talking 2004, if my math is correct. I came down, actually, I think this would have been December of 2003, right before 2004. My family, my parents, with my brother and sister, drove us from Winnipeg, Manitoba, all the way to Galveston, Texas, and back, including 2 days in the great city of New Orleans. We stayed at a hotel just west of Canal Street, and we went and saw Delphia Marsalis at Snug Harbor, and we went to Preservation Hall and sat on the floor, and we walked down Bourbon, and I remember seeing a brass band. Was likely something like the Free Agents or the could have been Free Agents or could have been, it's the name escaping me, the one I saw a brass band on Bourbon Street of younger men, of boys, really, teenagers. And that definitely was an inspiration for the Heavyweights brass band. So that was back in, I think December of 2003. Since then, I went back several times. My years, I'd have to pull out my calendars, but probably in about 2014 or 2013, I finished a tour of Canada and had a couple weeks where I had subletted my apartment in Toronto. So as opposed to crashing with friends, I just went down to New Orleans for about a week and stayed at the India House Hostel. Then back in 2016, I came down for a few months with support of the Ontario Arts Council to study with Delphio Marsalis. And that was kind of it for me. I spent, about 2 or 3 months down here with that, started getting gigs, started playing in Delphio's band, started playing with the Tremé brass band. The thing about New Orleans is there were so many gigs. You just had a trombone, you'd have a trombone on Frenchman and somebody'd be like, couldn't get a hold of our trombone player, or you're sitting in with somebody, this guy didn't show up. You want to, do the gig, we'll cut you in. Wow. So you could just kind of do that. And with Delphio, he was encouraging me to come out and hiring me to come out and play with the band. So that was 2016. Went back to, it was only for a couple months, didn't sublet, but crashed, paid a guy down here, Russell Ramirez, to stay at his place for a couple months. Went back up, and in January of 2017, I moved down here with my partner. And I've been living here since, with varying degrees of, I obviously have strong roots in the Toronto region. So going up for Niagara Jazz Festival and various things in Toronto, and going to Winnipeg to see my folks and play with the Winnipeg Jazz Orchestra and play out there. Nice. But I was just up actually this Mardi Gras season. I played Orleans, Ontario, which is a Faubourg of Ottawa. And on Mardi Gras Day, I did a tour with the New Orleans Jazz Orchestra, and we played up there. I've been living down here since 2017. That marks 3.5 years. And who knows? Maybe it'll be another 6.5 years, or maybe it'll,
Yeah. And what's the music scene? Obviously, everybody's still in lockdown. We just had today, was it today? Yeah. A little bit of opening up here. So stores that aren't in malls could open, and a few things like that. What about down there?
Yeah, it's similar. I think we shut down a couple days before y'all, and we opened up a couple days. I think phase 1 of the reopening was Saturday, either Friday or Saturday.
Right.
I'm not the best expert on the state of Louisiana is kind of opening a little before the city of New Orleans. We initially were fairly hard hit by COVID. I think we kind of got an early start with Mardi Gras rolling right before it.
Oh, yeah.
And people being very friendly here and everything. Yeah. So initially it was a hot spot, but I think Governor Bell Andrews has done an excellent job. There's varied opinions on the mayor, but that's, but they've done an excellent job, and it's kind of slowed down, and they flattened the curve. And they're doing well, but that being said, obviously there are still new cases every day, and things are shut down. Live music is not going to be opening for a while.
Wow.
So it's hard to say. I do a lot of things. I'm very grateful that I'm involved with the Niagara Jazz Festival live feeds, and I'm very grateful that I've got the recording studio, and that I've been doing live streams with other groups. And I did my first. I've been doing some live streams, where we try and keep 6 feet from everyone, etc., or just live stream one person. I've been doing them with Jason Marsalis, and I actually will be doing them every Thursday. But I played my first gig this last Friday, the New Orleans Jazz Orchestra, not the whole big band, but their brass band, went out and played at New Orleans East Hospital in the parking lot, trying to socially distance. A lot of people overlooked the parking lot so they could watch inside from the windows. And a lot of the frontline workers came out and danced 20 or 30 feet in front of us. There's some footage of it. WDSU and the news covered it. So it was just nice to get out and create some vibrations with some very talented people. And even we're wearing our face masks when we're not playing our horns, but you know, it is what it is. And I recommend everyone, you know, most important thing is stay safe and wear a mask when, you know, wash your hands and, you know, but we're going to get through this. We're all going to be all right. We've, you know, we had the Spanish influenza. We had these things. We're strong and we will persevere.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I can't believe how the time flies with you, Chris.
Hey, well, I could blab on all day. You know, we both have a little bit of history in radio. So
that's right.
But this is a 3-hour segment, Juliet, or?
Sure. I wish. Oh my gosh. Well, listen, I think you have a last clip of Windex Pete.
Yeah, we got a third one. So on this one, we, so where did we wrap up there? We wrapped up at the House of Blues, I think, which is on Decatur, kind of southwest corner, or southwest corner. I say that because I'm not from New Orleans, but you know, people here don't say southwest, northeast. They'd say, you know, we're at Decatur. We're on Decatur, just off Canal,
right?
And we roll kind of back into the French Quarter. We end up at Jackson Square. I was learning this whole time, you know, he gives us some history on the building surrounding Jackson Square, which if you've seen a Portrait of New Orleans, you've likely seen it. I've got a portrait of it in the bathroom. I'd almost go grab it and show it on but you're going to see it in the video in a second, so I don't need to do that. We roll through Jackson Square. We actually picked up a little bit of food at the Rouse's on Royal Street. And then we rolled up to Congo Square, which is, again, past Rampart Street. So we're back in Treme. And what we said is the place where music, where jazz music was certainly born out of. And I should say, so Black people would congregate in Congo Square every Sunday. And still to this day in the Crescent City, they do in their social aid and pleasure clubs. So we have a second line season, which again has been shut down. But so people will prepare year round to be in the Tremé Sidewalk Steppers or the Black Men of Labor, or every group has a week and it's their show. So they hire the bands they want. They dress to the nines, they pick their route, they stop at their favorite bars and get some barbecue or get a cold beverage, which I should mention is 100% legal in the city of New Orleans. You can enjoy an alcoholic beverage outside. So we aren't doing anything, might seem a little out of place. I remember, you know, but most of the world, New Orleans is a lot more like the rest of the world, just as you can in Europe or the Caribbean or South America or in Japan. You can have a beer in the park. So maybe they're a little more civilized down here in that respect, and that you can trust people to have a beverage outside. So we end up in Congo Square. We end with a couple tunes. We can maybe even give a little background on those tunes after Windex jams out on the washboard and sings a couple New Orleans tunes. So let's go to the screen share and we'll hit it.
Okay, let's hit it for sure. So there, and I know you're going to drag your other.
See you.
So I gotta drag it over.
Drag it over.
So you see it on my big screen.
There we go.
Now you see it over here.
And and thanks to you, we got to experience the, what do they call, Super Sundays, right? With the second line. Yeah,
second line Sundays. So they happen. There's a season, it's not quite year round, but most of the months of the year, and you're not going to see anything like it anywhere. You got to come to New Orleans, and I can't explain it. You just got to come and see it. Hey, but maybe next year or for the next series of ones, when things open up here, we can we could do a video series from one of them, I think.
Oh, that would be cool. I've actually got some footage that I'll probably maybe try and line up and do a nice tight little clip I can fit into the StreamYard to show next week when the Sunday that you told us where to look it up and how to get there. And I know it goes for about 4 hours, and we just did about 1, and I've never seen anything like it. And that was just, it wasn't Mardi Gras, and it wasn't the French Quarter Festival, and it was just like a Sunday.
It's more special to me, I mean, Mardi Gras is great. They say like 1.5 million people come down here for it, and this is a city of 300,000. Yeah, metro area being 1.3 million or something, but Mardi Gras is a big spectacle with a lot of money and a lot of plastic and trinkets and nothing against that. It is what it is, and it's one of the wonders of the world. You should come down and see that too. But if you can't go to a second line Sunday, this is the real deal. And I mean, to me, it's 100% through the legacy of Congo Square. This really is that continued legacy, without a doubt. And this is where we get that music from. And that's what makes the city so special. So let's enjoy a little more of the tour with Windex.
Okay.
You were born on Tremé Street, but then you moved.
I was raised all over this, from Canal Street to Dallas. I went to 7 schools.
You ever see Louis Armstrong, or was that before your time? Look over there.
Some beautiful street art on these boarded up storefronts.
Wow.
That's Jackson Square, that big tower coming in from the other side. In New Orleans, you can refer to another guy as baby. That's
cool.
It's not gender.
It's too bad we don't have the brass band cats out.
So quite often in Jackson Square on a normal day, you'd have a brass band busking there. You'd have people doing tarot card readings. You'd have people in ridiculous outfits dressed as pirates. People painted in gold and standing still. It's just tips and tips and tips. So he gives us a little bit of history on the Pentelba buildings, which was new to me. I didn't know the name of them or the history.
You got the oldest apartment building. Built that. This right here, the Tower building.
The Talus?
Calva. Or Calva. I remember
It used to be free.
Yeah.
Back when?
It was a little donation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back what, in the 80s, 90s, what?
So we're hitting Bourbon Street again.
Yeah, we'll ride through here, and then we'll go over to the big. So when you're picking up all that food, was that for people in the recording studio or what? You're talking about going in and picking up hot pork chop.
No, that was from right along. And for taxes, you can go in there and just drop the name.
So he references Matasses there, which was a family that owned a recording studio, owned many businesses. They used to rent jukeboxes, and what they found, so if you had a birthday party or whatever big event, you might rent a jukebox and they deliver it with songs. And they found that if they had their own songs as opposed to buying other people's records, they can make more money if they put their own tunes. And then it's kind of like the Jamaican thing, the Studio One thing, where they started creating their own music for their sound systems. Cosimo Matassa changed one of his businesses into a recording studio, which is almost close to directly across the street from where you see Windex now, the gates to Louis Armstrong. And the first recordings of what became rock and roll, most notably one Tutti Frutti by the great Lil Richard, who came down from Georgia and recorded at that recording studio across the street, and is cited by the music historians frequently as the first recording of rock and roll. So he was talking about stopping in the Matassa's other shop, their grocer, and he'd just leave his grandmother's name, and they'd allow him as a young boy to pick up whatever they needed, and they'd put it on his grandmother's bill at the end of the month. Reminds me of going to Bertle, Manitoba, in rural Manitoba, and you would go to the co-op grocery store, and we'd give my uncle's name, and they put it on his bill at the end of the month. And then he'd yell at Josh Butcher or myself for about some candy that we picked up or something. But so yeah, we're near the end of the video. This is the gates of Louis Armstrong Park. Louis Armstrong Park is a big park in the Treme. Unfortunately, they took many family homes away from people. I don't know if it's the 50s or 60s. Make this park. The Civic Auditorium is to the left there, which used to host big concerts. I heard a story recently of Miles Davis playing there, opening for Wynton Marsalis.
Wow.
Which is a interesting thing. But there was one point where Miles opened for Wynton Marsalis at the Civic Auditorium to the left there. It has now been abandoned for I couldn't tell you the number of years, way before I got into town. To the right, you can't see it, but it's just out of view with the trees, is the Mahalia Jackson Theater, which is still running. And I saw Crew de Carnaval with Arcade Fire and the Preservation Hall Jazz Band there. I also saw Louis C.K. before he fell out of favor perform there shortly after moving here. And we're going to hear Windex play a couple tunes for us in front of the gates of Louis Armstrong Park.
Cool.
Kiki, I know you love me. Are you riding? I never gonna leave you riding. I want to leave and I'm down. I say Kiki, do you love me? Riding, I never gonna leave you riding. I want to leave and I'm down.
Take us to the Treme, Pete.
Well, keep it in Treme.
Take us down to the Treme.
Ready? Ready?
I'm ready.
I'll find my door. My door. Give me a dime. Only got 8. Give me a
So those tunes there, we heard a few. We started off with Kiki, Do You Love Me, which is a Drake line. It's from a Drake tune called In My Feelings, which he did with a Bounce producer down here, Bounce being New Orleans hip-hop music. And he filmed the video here, and Windex Pete is in the video.
Amazing.
So if you go to Drake In My Feelings, you'll see a couple shots in the middle of the video of Windex jamming the washboards in front of the tattoo parlor on Frenchman. He went into Tremé, which is, we should mention the great John Boutte, who's one of the great New Orleans singers, who wrote that song. And then decades later, HBO came and did a series on New Orleans called Treme. And they use that as the theme song. The Down in the Treme, it's me. That song right there. So that's written by John Boutte. John's originally from the neighborhood, and he's a great singer. You could see at DBA, you could see at Jazz Fest. I had the fortune of playing with him and that song with him at Lincoln Center, the Appel Room. The New Orleans Jazz Orchestra went up to New York for 2 nights, 2 shows a night, sold out at the Appel Room, joined by John Boutte. And what a beautiful singer, what a beautiful man, and he beautiful soul. He wrote that tune, and you'll hear everyone play it around here, and getting to play it in New York overlooking Lincoln Circle. I'll never forget.
Amazing.
We're going to wrap things up. So this straight up is Congo Square, Louis Armstrong, the gates. So this is in what is now Louis Armstrong Park. We were at the gates, which was just around the corner. But this is the spot where the music was born, and you're going to hear Windex play a couple more tunes.
Cool. Thank you.
Might not want to get off ya. Don't let Corona.
This is this
Get up.
Herlin Riley tune that we started
He's
it
a
off.
bad boy. Might not want to get off. You got to see. Don't let Corona get up on you. He's a bad boy. Might not want to get off. Yeah, I want to hear you, Pete. Let Corona. Oh, yeah. You got it. Bad boy. Might not want to get off. Yeah, you got it. Let Corona get up on you. He's a bad boy. Might not want to get off. Yeah. Hit me with some Liza Jane, Pete. Hit me with some Liza.
I got a girl who loves me and who loves me. She's mine, who loves me too. I said, who loves me. I said, I got a girl who loves me and who loves me. It's no red beans. Oh, little live me. Oh, little live. Bring it home, y'all. Oh,
Little Liza Jane. Oh, little Liza. Little Liza Jane. Beautiful Windex. Thank you all. You got any last words for everybody?
yeah, stay happy and never had a bad day. Yeah, you're right.
So that was
Oh,
Windex Pete
wow.
for you, taking us on a
Amazing.
little journey through the Tremé, through the French Quarter, starting off and ending near Congo Square, near Louis Armstrong Park. And we hope you enjoyed. I hope you get, hey, what's up, Ronnie LJ? Nice to see you.
Yeah.
We got some more radio people in the house.
Ronnie's going to be joining us for a couple of the sessions too, just to stick his head in and co-host a little bit. So that'll be fun.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So I hope that when the situation changes and we open up to traveling, we hope that you can come down and visit us down here.
Yeah.
Because Juliet's going to be down here 6 months a year. I'm
Listen,
sure
I'm gonna
Ronnie
work on that.
LJ's going to be down here. I'm sure
Oh,
my
yeah.
parents are going to be down here. I'm sure Juliet's parents are going to be down
Oh,
here.
yes. Oh,
And
yes.
there's no place like it. We can talk about it. We can tell stories. We can show videos. We can take a bike tour. I think that's personally in the given situation. I think that's as good as you can do staying at home in your living room or your computer room. But
Yeah.
I hope that you make it down here and experience it, because, you know, especially if you like music or if you like food or you like history, you know, when you spend a little bit of time down here, you miss it when you're gone. You know, that was my experience as I came down and spent those 3 months that which wasn't my first time, but I went back and the music didn't feel right to me elsewhere. And just this connection to the roots of the music and the tradition and the oral tradition and the music as a folk art form. This is the only city, I believe, where jazz music feels like folk music. Everywhere else, it often feels like university music or, a little disconnected. So hopefully we got to show that to you. And
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, you got any questions, Juliet? You want to roll any comments or?
Oh my gosh, a whole bunch more comments came in. Okay, so Ronnie Littlejohn says, I'm moving in with you.
Yeah, well, I invited you over last time, Ronnie. You didn't come,
I love it. I love it. He says thumbs. Peter's he's in the house. I'm in the studio. He says, amazing, loved it, guys.
We hope you're feeling
Nice.
good, Peter.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Thinking of you.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him a big kiss in a second. And then Joni Marie never had a bad day. That's definitely my favorite quote from
Yeah,
Windex
that's when you say, Windex, how you doing? Ain't never had a bad day. So
I love it.
he's a role model for that. If you're ever having a bad day, just think of Windex. And
yeah, amazing. I really look forward to meeting Windex next time I get to come down. And Chris, thanks so much for setting up Windex. And what everybody doesn't know yet, but they'll soon find out, is that you've lined up, I think, 4 other different locals for us. We're so excited. If I can remember off the top.
I can let you know. If you know the dates, but we got Dr. Bryce Miller, who's very familiar to Southern Ontario and Niagara region jazz fans, because we were just up with the New Orleans Jazz Orchestra at the end of February, and we played the St. Catherine's Performing Arts Center. You saw him in the trumpet section. I play with him in Delphio Marcellus's Uptown Jazz Orchestra, and he's always one of the best dressed cats on the gig. Nice. So I thought, hey, Bryce, we need somebody to do a fashion segment, and he said, I'm down. Let's do this. So you're going to catch funky fashion with Dr. Miller.
He's going to be on June 2nd. There we go.
June 2nd.
Yep.
And they say the joke about him is they say he has a PhD in higher, medium, and lower learning. So he does have a PhD. It's not a joke, but he has it in all of that. And then the other segment, we have Pierre Brown, who is the partner or wife of Leon Kid Chocolate Brown, who one of the great musicians. They have a son together, Deuce, who is emerging as maybe the next great trumpet player. I don't know. He's 12 years old or something and playing on everyone's gigs. Deuce Brown. And I've shared a bandstand with Leon many times, and so she has Sacred Soul Catering, and so she's going to do New Orleans cooking with y'all. And when I talked to her on the phone, I'd heard so much about her cooking, and she said, "Well, you got to come over sometime, But I'm planning on tuning in and maybe learning a recipe from her.
Nice.
So we have that. We also have cocktails with a guy, Josh Daly. He used to run the bar at a place in the Quarter called RF's. That RF's had the best music policy in the French Quarter. I used to play there frequently, either Tuesdays or Wednesdays, weekly with my quartet, and every Sunday with a salsa band. And my favorite part was getting drinks from Josh. He makes the best grasshopper I've ever had. Hopefully he can do that, which is like kind of it's cream de cacao and some it's like mint, like after 8 in a beverage. And it's a New Orleans drink that I love. Maybe he can do that. We got Josh Daly. Now he's at the Royal Frenchman since RF shut down. Who else we got? And
I think I'm just looking at that's the ones, all of our correspondents from New Orleans, I believe. And then we've got next week, we have Get Your Mask On with Austin Patterson. She's in British Columbia. Austin was going to get married this summer out there, and her theme was masquerade and Mardi Gras. And so she was making masks for all of her friends, and she's the perfect gal to show us all how to make masks and get ready. And then we have local ladies here, Comfort Kitchen, and they're going to be doing some bread pudding and some Cajun shrimp. And who else do we have? I think there's one that hasn't been lined up. Oh, and then the Vaudevillian. So they're going to do jug band and musical spoons. So we're going to have everything we need to get our own Mardi Gras on, even on our own property if we have to. And if not, we'll have a small gathering, and there'll be more info on that when we're allowed to share the word. But Chris, honestly, thank you for sharing the culture of New Orleans with us and bringing New Orleans to the north. It's just amazing.
Thank you for coming down and spending time down here. And I know the series is going to be a success, and I'll be tuning in. Maybe I can jump in on somebody else's live stream if you let me.
We would love that. So I'm realizing with StreamYard, I'm allowed to have up to 6 people at once. So I can send you the link, and if you want to jump in, we would absolutely love that. It's so fun.
Beautiful.
So fun. So I'm just going to put up that video as we head out, and then I'm going to chat with you in a second. So thanks again, Chris. Have a lovely evening. I know you're 1 hour behind us, right? So it's still pretty early down there. Enjoy.
Yeah, we still got light out there. So
nice.
Thank you. See you soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Take care. All the best. Once again, everyone, that was Christopher Butcher from the Heavyweights Brass Band, who's our correspondent down in the Crescent City in New Orleans, Louisiana. And just so much knowledge about the culture of New Orleans and Mardi Gras and Second Line. And that was just such a great session. I'm really glad we went over time, actually. So much fun. So I'm just going to leave you, if I can find it here, with our new video, which promotes the series that is every Tuesday, 6 until 7 p.m., Niagara's Summer Mardi Gras Sessions. And we're getting ready for Niagara Summer Mardi Gras, which is on July 18th. A big shout out to the city of St. Catharines and the town of Niagara-on-the-Lake for helping us produce and present these sessions. Stay safe, everybody. We will see you out and about soon enough, but everybody, please stay safe in the meantime. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube. And the sessions are all listed on our website, which is NiagaraJazzFestival.com. Feel free to donate to the festival as well, or to the artists that present their art form. We are paying the artists, of course, but every little bit helps, and everybody appreciates it because, as you know, we're all in lockdown. So please donate if you can to help us keep the art form of jazz and music alive. Let's head out with this video, and we'll see you next week. And oh, good Lord, I should not forget to say, of course, we have our events this weekend coming up. So Friday night and Saturday night between 7 and 8 p.m., we have our live stream Love Jazz series, and that we are continuing to do while in lockdown. This Friday, we have from Montreal, Miguel de Armas and his son, Miguel de Armas Jr. They're doing a Cuban piano recital, so dueling pianos, and their family, so they don't need to social distance. So that's on Friday, and we have Adrian Ferrugia tuning in or performing from Hamilton. I'll be tuning him in from Hamilton, and he's a phenomenal piano player. If you haven't seen Adrian play before, do tune in. So that's Friday and Saturday, 7 until 8, both nights. Wow, busy week. Okay, everybody, have a great night, and we'll see you on Friday. Bye.
The TD Niagara Jazz Festival presents Niagara Summer Mardi Gras Sessions. Join us online every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. as we bring New Orleans to the north. Direct from the Crescent City, Dancin' Man 504, Windex Pete, Christopher Butcher of the Heavyweights Brass Band, and more. Featuring mask making, Cajun cooking demos, musical spoons, second line dance steps, cocktail demos, funky fashion tips, and musical clips. Tune in for these free sessions on our Facebook or YouTube channels, Jazz Niagara. Then we'll celebrate Niagara Summer Mardi Gras together this summer on July 18th. It's virtually possible. Just watch and see.
Niagara's summer Mardi Gras sessions are brought to you in part by TD, the City of St. Catharines, and the town of Niagara on the Lake.